Hello, Internet, and welcome to the first July weekly of the Rough Drafts Compete Journey of Wrestling League. We have just wrapped up our third silver pay-per-view. If you haven't checked, God, my voice. If you haven't checked out that stream, you definitely should. The VOD is on this very channel. And it was a hell of a time. Congratulations again to the Campeonato de Luchasaur for the clean victory with a 5.75 star card, just the third in our competition's history, I believe, maybe fourth. But still, a rare occurrence and a well earned victory. But I am joined, of course, by my lovely co announcer here, Xander. How you doing today, buddy?
I am doing quite well. Obviously, fell a little short, in this last stream from where I wanted to end up. But at the end of the day, the fan totals dictated that it was a dub in and of itself. So,
Yeah, I was
um,
going to say the game told us that we won fans. So I
mhm,
guess that is a way of winning. But in the
yes,
more tangible, relevant to the standings way,
yes.
Eduardo does seem to have gotten it.
Eduardo did get the win, and congrats to him. Not even remotely trying to take away from his victory. 5.75 card is obviously massive anytime you see it.
Mhm.
But listen, a lot to still be happy about overall.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And we are working our way. We've got one bronze pay per view coming up in 2 weeks' time. So that'll be exciting to watch play out. But for now, we've got to work our way up to it. And we're going to start with the Stamford Wrestling Alliance, the SWA Walters League here. Some very exciting narratives. I feel like every time we watch Walter's show, the big thing we take away is we want to do more things like what Walter is doing. So, are you ready, Xander, to get our scouting report for things that we'll incorporate into our show a couple months from now?
yes, I am in fact ready.
Fantastic. Uh, well, we start with a non gimmick match. Oh goodness.
I
it would
wasn't gonna
probably
say
be helpful to you if you were
yeah,
able to see things.
if I was able to see stuff. Yeah,
That
yeah,
would
thank
that would
you.
be a nice thing to do. We have fun here, folks.
Yeah.
The first match, it is a standard match between Virginia Warbler and Eddie Davis. Eddie Davis, of course, one of the Dominatus Eternus members, a lackey, if you will. Maybe lackey's too harsh of a word, but definitely someone that Christopher Devlin turns to get his dirty work done. But in this case, this is more about Virginia Warbler. He's coming back after losing to Cobra Gaston. That feud has now come to a close, and he needs to prove himself as a wrestler again, right? He needs to move his way up the card if he's going to get another chance at a belt like that. And, he's talking to Walter and he's like, hey, I need some opportunities. I need somebody that I can cut my teeth against and, get a good win and really, prove myself here. And Walter's like, well, I mean, we just need to find the right person for you. And Eddie Davis walked right on by. And so Walter's like, yeah, that seems like a good pick. So that's the match we have in front of us here. Which of these two competitors do you think is getting the nod tonight, Senator?
I think it's gonna be Virginia Warbler. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Walter has plans for him now that that last storyline has mostly culminated, and or concluded rather. And you got a guy who's a 3-2 who needs a bit of a morale boost and is 67% over. So with a little bit of work, you can push him up to that 4-3 status. And I think that's the move here. I think give the baby face the win,
Mm-hmm.
start building him up a little bit. At least make it so that he can take another loss in the future. Because if you give him one too many right now, it's not looking good for you.
Yes, you don't want to end up in a Kenny Diaz situation. That is for
You
sure.
don't want to end up in a Kenny Diaz situation, indeed.
And I believe Walter agrees because Virginia is getting the win here. It is a nice 4% morale boost. A 5% hit to Eddie Davis, but whatever, he can take it. It's a 4.5-star match, too, with a holy shit moment. As Virginia Warbler
Huge.
reverses Eddie Davis's finisher, cursed at him and hit his own. This is where I don't know. Neither of these guys had stiff worker. That's just raw base stats getting the holy shit moment there. And a nice feud starter as well. I think there's it'll be interesting to see how much these two end up going back and forth for the long run, but definitely, a nice bounce back for Virginia Warbler there. And we move on. to our next match, which is a street fight between Maester Gomez and Amanda Ace. Well, the last pay per view, right? Heat Wave. Maester Gomez won that battle royale, earned a spot to challenge for the Mildred S. Robinson Cup, and was talking backstage to Consequencia. I need to celebrate tonight. I earned that shot. I deserve it, and it's about time that I get recognized as the incredible wrestler that I am. And Amanda Ace, hears this and interrupts her and says, you know what, you don't deserve the title shot, right? A battle royale, so many things get in the way. If it was a clean match, just you and me, I would be able to beat you. And I deserve that shot more than you do. And Maester's like, okay, I'll prove it to you. If that's really what you think, if you're not going to let me celebrate my big moment here, I'm going to have to put you in your place. And that's the match we have in front of us today. So between the Ace, Amanda Ace, and Maester Gomez, who do you think is coming out with the W?
I think it's going to be Maestra Gomez. I think that Walter kind of made clear he's got big plans for Maestra. And I think this is just the start of a pretty prolific climb for her.
Yeah, things are looking good for Maester Gomez. She is indeed getting the win here. It's a nice 4.25-star match, but most importantly, a second holy shit moment, I should say. Maester Gomez hitting Amanda Ace with the finisher from the top rope. That's got to feel good. It's got to feel good for Maester Gomez to get a nice 6% overness boost just because of the former teacher gimmick getting a little bit more love. And I have to say, given that Amanda Ace is a 2-star worker, and we know how much that affects the likely output result for a match, I think a 4.25 star has to feel pretty good right about now.
Yeah, no, you can't be upset with that, right?
Yes. Now, you may notice here, Cobra Gaston's got a new look. And that is because he is no longer considering himself to be a Gaston brother. After all, his brother embarrassed him, right? He made him lose that tag match. Has just been taking L's, and even the W he got was against some lower tier opponent that isn't even worthy of acknowledging as far as Cobra Gaston is concerned. So he's got a new selfish opportunist gimmick. And that's always a risky thing to do, right? Because obviously he was well over with the crowd. A new gimmick, had it rolled poorly, could have been a problem. But I dig the new outfit personally. The fans seem to love this gimmick because it's already back at 100% mark out, which is really all you're trying to accomplish here. The role was not great for the segment, which, it looks like new gimmick packages in general have just had a bit of a tough time for Walter. But I think overall it accomplishes the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like his cape? We were very big fans of the cape.
I do like the cape. I am a big fan of the cape, the outfit looking fly.
Absolutely. And let's have him put it to use here because we have a 4v4 match between the Scribner family and Eternum. And you're thinking to yourself, Xander, I'm sure. I know Colton Scribner and Daniel Stevenson have been fighting for a bit. Ever since Colton took the brass ring from Daniel, that's, been a little bit of a feud. But ultimately, the Scribner family was just happy to celebrate today, right? Viper Gaston just got sent back to the developmental league. He's in training and will not be back for another few months, I imagine. They did what they needed to do. Cobra Gaston continuing to secure win after win. But Ethan Wilde approached the family and asked Olivia if they'd be willing to fight Eternum tonight. And Olivia's like, well, we kind of have our own thing going tonight. And then Ethan Wilde gave them a briefcase of money. And the Scribner said, when are we fighting Eternum tonight? And so now we have a 4v4 tag match between the Scribners and Eternum. This is, of course, Anthony, Livia, Colton, Cobra. I thought this was Jace rather than Livia. I think the game may have gotten that incorrect here. So sorry about that, Walter, as you're seeing this. You saw me click on Jace, so we specifically tried not to have this happen. The game's fun sometimes. But this one does seem to have saved correctly. Rick Dolan, Daniel Stevenson, Algenico, M60, this Eternum They have obviously put in quite a lot of work. They've been focused with their civil war with Chort, but a lot of great wrestlers on both sides of this, Xander. Who do you think's getting the nod tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I like what's getting built up here. I want to say Eternum win. I like Eternum kind of need a win with this group. They just had the loss most recently with these four wrestling. And while I acknowledge, the new gimmick package, I think that might, if anything, also be to just benefit so that when they lose tonight, someone's still got something positive in Cobra Gaston.
Mm. Well, here's the thing. I feel a little bit like I cheated with this one because you wouldn't be able to see this result coming unless you knew what the script was in front of you, because this is actually a well, he said interference, and interference isn't an
Available.
option, so I'm gonna pick distraction because I think that's the closest. And the person that is going to give the Scribner family the win via a distraction is Kenji Saber.
Oh wow.
Okay. It's already been yelled in the event or feud. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't think that Walter knew that finish had already been used. He probably also didn't know that an elimination match meant that I couldn't use interference, though that was also a
Interference.
DQ,
Yeah.
so that would have been weird in its own way. A couple things here, but whatever. It's the thing that's getting dropped, and I think the storyline is certainly what's going to matter more to Walter here. A holy shit moment certainly doesn't hurt. Cobra
Yeah.
Gaston hitting M60,
Yeah.
3 consecutive finishers. But here's the thing: you're probably asking yourself, Xander, why did Kenji Saber do that? Because as you know, and
Why did Kenji Saber do that?
he is a member of Eternum in theory, but it turns out that Kairo Sakura, at Heizo Ogawa's request, has asked, hey, Ethan Wild, do you think Kenji Saber would be interested in joining Main in Japan? And Ethan Wild's like, look, Kenji's not interested in being part of Chord or Eternum, so yeah, you can probably make that happen if you want. I'm totally cool with him going to Made in Japan. But he should have to prove himself to you, right? He should have to prove that he means it, that he cares about Made in Japan and is not loyal to Eternum anymore. And so Kairo Sakura goes to him and goes, hey, we want you to join us, but we want you to make sure that you make it hurt for Eternum on the way out. And so here Kenji Saber is. He causes the distraction. He costs Eternum that match, and then he comes up with the rest of Made in Japan and kicks the shit out of Eternum.
Wow, huge, massive,
Yeah.
wild.
It's a really nice overness and popularity boost for everyone in Made in Japan. It's got a treachery feud between Daniel Stevenson and Kenji Saber. We'll see if Walter plans to do anything with that. Eternum has dropped to one reputation for losing other members. I imagine the Chort Civil War really did a number on them, but it's a huge boost for Made in Japan. Trixie Albright's now starting to get over. A lot of things accomplished with this. It is unfortunately only 3 3/4 stars, even with the producer bonus. So I imagine there are just some two charisma people in these factions that are maybe holding it back from full potential. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, a lot of overness going around, a lot of popularity going around. That's going to be a lot of value for Walter in the long run. And most importantly, now Made in Japan has a reason to really hate. Eternum has a reason to really hate Made in Japan. We will see how that affects things moving forward. But we continue now to a nice tag match between Prodigious and Down Under. These two have been feuding back when Down Under were still champions. But just because Down Under don't have the belt anymore doesn't mean that Prodigious is done with them, right? They're here to prove that they should be top tag contenders, that they should be the ones challenging Hollywood Bound for the title. And Down Under, of course, they've got quite the reputation to uphold. They won their first 6 tag matches as a team, and they don't want to lose another. Given the talent of these two competitors here, Xander, who do you think is winning tonight?
You know, I have to do it once again. I think I've only been proven right once, but I got to root for Prodigious here. I really want to see Prodigious win. They don't win enough for how talented I think they are, and having Tyson Morriso behind them. Every time I root for them, they lose pretty much. I'm ready to be disappointed again.
Well, I have some good news for you. Um, it is going to be, let's see. Yeah, this is going to use, I think it's going to be cheating here is the thing that Walter most wants because he doesn't want a DQ. He is going for interference. And thanks to Tyson Morriso, actually, no, it's got to be a distraction because he wants specifically Tyson Morriso to be the one doing it. Um, it's got to be. We'll have to look over these match finishes. I think this mechanic can be confusing sometimes, but given what Walter has in mind, I think this makes the most sense. It looks like perhaps this has already been held. Tyson Morriso may have done this in the past, but it is still a hot match for these two. It's a 4-star match. Prodigious and Down Under each get a overness boost, and D'Angelo Starr is now over with the fans, boosting his
Nice.
segment. So, congrats to them. The hot member also going to help Prodigy out in general. But yeah, I mean, this is Tyson Morso making sure that Prodigious don't take any more losses, and he's willing to put it in his own hands in order to make that happen. So you have to imagine Down Under not happy with that result. But you know, that's the nature of the beast here.
Yeah. But I'm happy. I'm happy Prodigious get a win. That's what matters.
Yes, absolutely. But we move on to the men's championship belt. This is Ethan Wild versus Kyle Lucha. Why is Kyle Lucha here? You're wondering. Well, Kyle Lucha called Ethan Wild out and told him he was a coward. Look, like everything you're doing with Short, rather than trying to like fix things and like work with Daniel Stevenson in order to make this happen. You are a coward, and I am not going to I don't think that a real man would treat his friends this way. And Ethan's basically like he's almost laughing as he's like, you know what? Sure, man. You want me to prove how much of a man I am? I'll fight you tonight. You can have a chance at the title. We'll have an unsanctioned match, Kyle. Let's have some fun with this. And so here we are. Kyle Lucha has a shot at the title tonight against Ethan Wild. Do you think we're going to see an upset tonight here, Xander, or is this going back to Ethan Wild?
Oh man, that's tough. I think it's going to be Ethan Wild keeping it.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's had it for a little while now, and you know Kyle Lucha coming away with an upset would be massive for him. But the disparity between them is too high. Ethan Wild continues to defend this.
Yeah, it turns out Kyle Lucha could really use a friend from Eternum coming to help right now, and Eternum got the shit kicked out of him earlier tonight. It's almost like Ethan Wild took on this match knowing that no one from Eternum would be able to mess with his victory. Interesting. How
Interesting,
interesting
interesting.
how everything Ethan Wild did ended up
That's
hurting Eternum more
that's
tonight.
that's quite an interesting story that has been crafted there. And it's almost like the game recognized that specifically or something weird.
Absolutely. Well, it gets Kyle Lucha to main event status and a little bit of overness. 4 3/4 stars, always nice to see. It's a hot match, which, you know, obviously the only gimmick here, or the only feud here, I should say, is Eternum versus Chort, but giving that Civil War some more love is never a bad thing. The men's championship continues to boost itself up. And yeah, congratulations to Ethan Wild. He continues to be the mastermind of the SWA. But we have to move forward for a match between Jesse Mallory and May Fukushima. You know, May and Jesse have been feuding since Jesse had the Mildred S. Robinson Cup title a few months back. But this is a match for a women's championship qualification match, right? So this is the chance to face off against Empress Kabuki at Beach Break. This is not going to be the only qualification match, I am told, but it is the first qualification match. And both of these competitors, they can't know for sure if they're going to get a second shot at this if they don't win tonight. And everyone wants a crack at the Empress, right? She has been undefeatable, unstoppable since she joined the SWA. and to even get an opportunity to go up against her. I mean, Mei Fukushima knows from her time in Tatsuna Funusentai how hard that is and how difficult it is to beat or how difficult it is to beat the Empress, even when you have two other people on your side. Uh, so, given that, Xander, who do you think's getting their meeting with the Empress at Beach Break?
I think it's going to be. Ooh, man. I think it's going to be May. I like. I know Jesse is the one I really should root for here because it's the most obvious choice. She's the 44870. I don't know though. Walter's been really wonky with this to me, and I feel like there could be an angle here for May. Give her the win, get her close to being over, and start pushing her up as the new challenger.
You know, it's an interesting idea, but I think for this belt, Walter's biggest problem with that would be that May and two other people took on Empress Kabuki at the same time and
And
lost.
lost. Gotcha.
So I think giving May that chance would be a little hard. I also think this match being only 3.25 stars is a little harsh, to be sure. Um, obviously May Fukushima is a
May's a
two-star
two worker.
worker, and
Yeah.
that's gonna sometimes come back to bite you. But you would think the 4-star of Jesse Mallory would be able to get something out of it. But as it stands, the thing you get out of it is that Jesse Mallory is getting that match with Empress Kabuki. Who else will be in that match? Well, you're just going to have to tune in to SWA Primetime next week to find out, I suppose. But we close with the match that was promised at Heatwave. Christopher Devlin versus Jules Murphy. You remember, of course, Drew King and Jules Murphy were in a headhunting feud. Drew King just kept telling Jules, if you join the kingdom, I will give you opportunities. I will set you up, and I will make sure that you get the chances that you deserve and that the lads never give you. And Jules Murphy, of course, he was winning that feud for quite a while, but he lost the match that matters, and he is now a part of the kingdom. And immediately, Drew King lived up to his word. He gave Walter a briefcase full of money and said Jules Murphy is fighting Christopher Devlin next week. And Devlin's like, how dare you, right? Like, why do I have to fight against a guy like Jules Murphy? He's not on my level. I shouldn't have to waste my time with this. And Walter just said, well, do you want to pay me more money than Drew King did to call it off? And Devlin just kind of scoffed and walked away. So here's the match: Devlin versus Jules Murphy. Xander, do you think that Jules Murphy is going to be able to make the most of this opportunity, or does Devlin maintain his role as the hitman of the SWA?
Devlin is maintaining his role.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all saw that coming, but
Yeah.
I think it's a big moment for Jules Murphy, right? Because he's in it. And I think once you have a chance to be in a title shot, once you have a chance to get this like feud with Christopher Devlin that's now started, it's a 4.75 star match. It's a hot match. There's a lot to like for this potential feud. And if Jules Murphy can get a couple wins, climb his way up the card, maybe he is a genuine threat to take down Devlin. Especially with a guy like Drew King in his corner. Maybe Drew King was right. Maybe he does have what Jules Murphy needs to succeed. But it's a loss tonight, but certainly the start of something bigger. And Walter's going to take a 4.25 star card as a result. Which I think, given a couple of the low rolls and a couple of the match finishes being things that had already come up in those feuds, which may, if he's watching this and wants to yell at me later, I should have picked a different ending type. I'll take the L on that. But I think overall, a lot of goals accomplished today. A nice push for Made in Japan, a nice push for Prodigy, getting D'Angelo Starr over Trixie Albright down that path, and certainly Cobra Gaston's new gimmick and this new feud. I think a lot of good stuff happening on the SWA this week.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay. Well, we move on, Xander, to you. The Glory
Indeed.
of Legends promotion. You've got Wednesday Night Triumph here for us tonight. Kenny Diaz no longer with the company. Skullshot back in wrestling form. I mean, what can fans expect from tonight's show?
Yeah, listen, you're gonna see some wild stuff a little bit, which is being showcased right here, that I don't want to get into until it's actually shown. But there is a lot happening now to follow the last pay per view. that feud within Conquest or Death is starting to boil over. And it's begun turning into a full blown civil war. It's not quite there yet. The skirmishing hasn't quite concluded, but it's pretty clear that that is the only direction forward for Conquest or Death. Simultaneously, Burn It All Down, trying to posture to take as much as they can away from For the People with the recent gains that they've had. They've moved a lot of people up the card. They were pretty solidly behind Conquest or Death, and now they're about dead even with them for the first time since the first month of our inception here. Um, and so Burn It All Down and For the People are looking at each other. And I mean, for the People are very honestly just looking forward to taking more away from Conquest or Death. But Burn It All Down hot on their heels. Executioner Goro has big designs on how to push forward. And then, simultaneously, you got a lot coming down the pipe from, Kanoto Karius, from Brigantia, from Juge. And, they're looking to see what kind of moves that they can make now that the field is a bit opened up for them. No longer these, static organizations above them able to just keep them down, keep them in their place. If they wrestle intelligently and appeal to Johnny's good side long enough, they can get some wins. Maybe not against Conquest or Death always, but definitely against the other factions in the promotion.
Yes, it is very interesting to see how some of these wrestlers have to maneuver their way through. And let's see exactly how some of that works tonight. It looks like we have we've started off with a bang here, huh?
Yeah. So Skullshot is back, and he wants to remind everybody that despite him being injured for a good while here, he is not someone to be trifled with. And Skullshot talked to Johnny before this and said, "Listen, Serpentine just got that very important belt. That he was able to take off of a member, Bone Soldier of Conquest or Death." And he said, "Listen, let me get one back for us, Johnny. I know that you gave Bone Soldier the chance to defend his belt, and he wasn't able to do it. And Serpentine's strong right now, but I have had a feud with Serpentine for a long time, and now that I'm back, this is the perfect opportunity for me to come in and remind him that Conquest or Death are not to be messed with." And he sure does that.
He sure does. It's a 4.75-star segment. That producer focus did end up helping out. But most importantly, the feud has gone hot as a result of this, which is going to increase the chance of hot matches and segments moving forward, which is great because they're about to be. Actually, this is a different match. Excuse
Nope,
me.
different match. Correct.
Yes,
but it does still feature Skullshot. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, Jolly Roger versus Vinland Saga. So yeah, what brings these two groups back into the ring?
Yeah, so these two groups were feuding for a while. These are the two lower end tags in Conquest or Death who have basically been, like fighting within themselves for the opportunity for Johnny's favor to decide who will get the opportunity at the title shot matches. Historically, Vinland Saga were given a lot more opportunities. And Jolly Roger didn't like that. And part of that too is because Jolly Roger are a little bit more popular. But Vinland Saga, Johnny had a soft spot for them. The crowd loves them. They've always put on hot matches. And so Johnny always kind of gave them the nod. So this feud here is really going to come to a close soon. And it's going to determine who Johnny will be putting forward in those tag team matches, especially now that Castle Crashers are no longer the one holding it. There is a lot of room here to actually push Juge and get that belt back for Conquest or Death.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Conquest or Death would love, every belt that they can get. That's always been, the hang time policy. Though, I guess to be fair, it really does depend on which members of Conquest or Death, because the hang times themselves have not always been on each other's side, especially when Hang Time Heresy were once holders. But for now, I think if my notes are correct, this is a Jolly Roger W, right?
It is a Jolly Roger W. Not for nothing. Again, Skullshot is really trying to gain favor with Johnny, and he's done so tonight in pretty historic fashion. Few people have been able to get the nod from Johnny in both a segment and a match back to back in one night.
Yeah, skull shot. I mean, if nothing else, it's a pure endurance test, right? Like he comes back from an injury, he's like, I'm full strength, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to make noise." Beats up a guy in Serpentine Suprema who we know is a fierce competitor, and then immediately rallies back and does a tag match and wins, and is the survivor as we know, right? Like
Yep.
he eliminated both Wolf Klein and Bear Winter, which not to say that Bone Soldier didn't do his part, but this was Skullshot going above and beyond tonight, and we're gonna have to see what that means for him, what opportunities arise because he was willing to put in that work tonight.
Indeed, indeed.
But we've got quite an interesting segment here. I mean, this is a tag team, right? Remind me who what's the name of their tag again?
This is Harlem Havoc.
Harlem
Okay.
Havoc. Yeah.
Kota Super being the Prince of Harlem, and Deputy Newland being a former cop. All right, in New
Mm-hmm.
York City.
Yeah.
And they come out together. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and you're expecting a quality tag promo from two guys that haven't wrestled as a tag in a while, but don't want folks to forget. And then something happens very suddenly, and Deputy Newland turns on Kota Super and starts absolutely putting the hurt on him. Now, it's important to remember that Deputy Newland has been the comedic, relief, if you will, for Burn It All Down. And he and, Kota Super, who is a member of Brigantia, have gone back a long way. But this is finally putting that friendship in the dirt. And Deputy Newland, like many other members of Burn It All Down that you've seen that have either been neutral or face, have been commanded by Executioner Goro. You're either with us, you are
Mm-hmm.
aligned perfectly with us, or you are against us. And no one wants to get on Executioner Goro's bad side right now. Deputy Newland is no exception, and he has officially turned heel.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, the fans are like, how is this happening? Why is this happening? But ultimately, it is a nice moment for Deputy Newland turning heel. I mean, I think that aligns with my view of former cops a little bit more closely than the previous characters. So certainly makes my job a little easier remembering what side of the alignment he is. But also, a Fighting the Darkness feud between the two of them will be interesting to watch, especially because, unsurprisingly, it looks like the two of them are not going to be wrestling together after that.
Yeah, Kota Super, realizing now that, his faith in their friendship, despite the faction difference here, especially given the faction that Deputy Newland is specifically a part of, it's just not going to happen anymore. And, he's disappointed, of course. They've known each other for a long time, and, they did represent like a really positive bond with one another, coming from two places that, don't normally get along, but alas, Executioner Goro's stranglehold on this promotion continues to run deep. And now Brigantia and Burn It All Down are very much going to be at greater odds, especially given Kota Super's influence within Brigantia.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating to watch play out. We'll see. We know that you love a good faction feud here, Xander, but I think you might have a couple other faction feuds cooking as well. So we'll see what order of operations looks like there. But for now, we need to move on to a very interesting match between Black Bull and Braden Castle. This is a first blood match. These two have been feuding for a little bit now. What brings them to the ring tonight?
Yeah, listen, for the people, Burn It All Down. Don't get along. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Braden and Black Bull, they had a feud before, and this was back when Braden was a heel. And it was really there was some talks that Black Bull might be testing the waters to see if they could pull Braden Castle away from For the People. He was a heel within that organization and was really just there because of his brother. But now Braden has found the light. He is officially a face now, and he is realizing that listen, being a good guy doesn't mean I have to stop being violent. Okay, I just got to make sure I'm directing it at the people who are trying to do harm to others. And with that, his resolve is so powerful now within For the People that Black Bull is kind of unsure about how to even pursue this. So he's really just coming out and literally going for blood. And of course, reminder: Black Bull is Executioner's, his forward scout, his forward soldier. And so now you have to be kind of wondering: is this Is this them probing again to see the weaknesses of For the People? What other things is Executioner Goro thinking here?
Yeah, that is the question. I think obviously a guy like Black Bull, he's just here to do his part, cause some pain, cause some drama, and see if he can cause some chaos. But I think from my notes here, it looks like For the People are going to emerge victorious on this one.
For the People are going to end up taking this one. Braden Castle's just a little too good right now.
Mm.
And he's had some recent losses that he wants to make up for himself. Black Bull, however, on a pretty significant losing streak. It's always to be expected with Black Bull that he's going to have more losses than wins, given how he is utilized by his faction.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that Executioner Goro has taken note of this.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very important note. And Executioner Goro himself is going to step in to make a change.
See, I do want to say before we move on to that lovely moment, I find it very funny that because of the mask that he has, we can't actually see the blood from his first blood loss,
Yep.
which leads to the question of like how the refs knew that he was bleeding when there's no visible blood to call the match.
There's some blood down his neck that we can't see, maybe.
Oh, I guess, yeah, it's all dripping down his back for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There is an important announcement here.
Executioner Goro will now be managing Black Bull directly. No longer is he going to use him as a forward soldier from behind the shadows, letting people kind of assume, how his will is being directed. Executioner Goro says, you know what? I'm going to make it clear. Okay? Black Bull, you're not losing this much anymore. I won't stand for it. And furthermore, when people are looking and seeing Black Bull, they will know that not only is my will being exercised, but I will be ringside ensuring that he executes upon my vision.
Absolutely. And I love this, honestly. Black Bull's such a great worker, not the best on the mic. Giving someone like Executioner Goro to him just enables so many things. And I think the game agrees because it's a 5-star segment, which you certainly love to see, especially for a bronze segment. Makes you wonder how much higher these can go once you level that up a little bit. But congratulations to Black Bull. He may have lost the battle, but he may have won the war with a guy as powerful as Executioner Goro in his corner.
Yeah.
But we have to move on. This is Conquest or Death versus For the People. And it looks like we might be heading to another total war between these two factions. How did this 1v2 match come together?
Listen, Colin Torwell, who is a lesser member of For the People, but someone who is extremely talented, he wanted an opportunity to be in a big match. And it had been, brewing for a while. Phil's got all of these feuds. Everyone has tried to take a piece out of Phil because he was the youngest hang time. He was really seen as the low-hanging fruit. And time after time after time, it was proven that Phil is not easy to beat. That next to Johnny, he might be the next strongest guy in the entire promotion. Kai Galvana, of course, disagrees with that. But otherwise, it's really hard to argue that Phil isn't one of the top 3, top 5 most talented people, here. And having that hang time, legacy behind you makes it even harder, especially when Johnny is the Emperor. So that being said, DJ Castle, who's been feuding with Phil for a while, says, you know what, Colin? Listen, I wanted to fight this guy. I was going to go at him, but I can't do it alone. I've been stopped the last 2 times I've tried to wrestle Phil by myself. However, I think if you and I work together as members of For the People, we can take it to him. And Phil, he says, I'll take that challenge. I don't need anybody else. And Johnny looks at him and says, listen, I expect you to be able to win this 1v2. If you want to prove that you are my heir, if you want to prove that you are the one that can take over for me, especially now that Eric and Elliot Hangtime are no longer people I consider brothers, well, you better win this match.
That is, bold words there from Johnny Hangtime. Really goes to show how deep that Eric and Elliot feud is continuing to grow. I'm sure we'll be seeing more and more of that moving forward. As it stands, this is one of those where it hurts me a little bit because I really like Colin Torwell. I certainly like DJ Castle and the work the Castle Crashers have been doing. and losing a 1v2 match is hard, right? Two people should be better than one person. However, if you're setting up a 1v2 match, it doesn't really make sense narratively for the two to win, because all you're saying is that um, like this guy was overconfident, which I don't think is the story you're telling with Phil. So I imagine Phil is getting the W tonight.
Phil's getting the W tonight. Unfortunately for Colin and DJ, Phil is just too good right now. He is genuinely too good. Colin's still a little inexperienced relative to his other two competitors here. DJ Castle is pretty close in skill to Phil. But Phil is a lot better than Colin, and he was able to take out Colin pretty quickly. And then once again, DJ is left with a 1v1 with a Phil who is not that injured and gets obviously gets some damage off, gets Phil to bleed, gets, an important match going here. But at the end of the day, it is not going to be anything able to stop Phil Hangtime.
Absolutely. I mean, the big thing to keep in mind, right, is look at this Total War feud getting the 130 points because of how many over members there are. The extra 16 because they feuded in the past, which I don't know how previous feud hype is calculated, but whatever, it worked. And now you're starting at 241, which seems like a good start.
Seems like a decent start. I'll take it.
Yeah. Phil Hangtime, obviously, taking a little bit of a morale hit, I imagine, going up against Colin Torwell, just because Colin's lower on the card. But it feels like in a 1v2 that shouldn't be, like, the average isn't that far off. I'm kind of surprised
He'll be fine.
With the game. Yeah.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Certainly more fine than his opponents tonight, who have to do some thinking. But we have a segment here on Kai Galvana. Anything in particular this segment highlighted before we go to his next match?
Yeah, no, listen, Kai, just witnessed, right, Phil going out there and essentially making the argument that he should be Johnny's heir. And Kai is saying, listen, I respect Phil. I have nothing against Phil. But when it comes down to it, I am the heavyweight champion. And Johnny, I'm going to show you that I'm the guy that should be considered your primary heir. However, Kai is happy to work within whatever Johnny's designs are. Kai is not here to rock the boat. Kai is not here to do that. He is here to politely remind that, everybody that right now he really is the number two in both the guy who holds the next highest belt and the guy who is able to execute Johnny's will.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating situation. Obviously, the segment didn't seem to do as well as you would have liked, but it does make the men's heavyweight championship a gold belt. And the key thing there is that it unlocks the new title reveal segment. I don't know if that's just like you get to reveal a new belt in a championship, or if there's something else is meant by title in this context. But that is certainly a very interesting segment to have in your arsenal that I don't think any of the rest of us do. I don't think any of the rest of us have gotten a silver belt to a gold quite yet. So definitely pushed you over the edge and got it in a good spot. And now Kai Galvana's like, look, I'll fight anybody. Anyone who's willing to take the call, I'm willing to come out here and beat. And it looks like Jay Avalon is the one who comes to the ring.
Yeah, Jay Avalon stepping out, trying to make a big name for himself here. Don't forget, Jay Avalon is a relatively, high-performing member of For the People.
Yes.
And now that feud is kicking, it appears that he wanted to be the representative. There are a couple of guys above him in that promotion, namely Carson Gold, DJ and, Braden Castle. Of course, you've got Azaki, you got Alex, and naturally Alexis would probably be the guy that everyone thinks of when they think who should be feuding Kai. But Jay is not that far below. Jay is a guy that absolutely is, valued, as a member here For the People who could answer this call. Excellent worker, has been in big matches, just got a recent win. But, that being said, he's going to have a lot tested against him tonight as he wrestles Kai Galvana.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know me. I love Jay Avalon. I think he's a great wrestler, and I have been excited every time you've given him a little bit more and for the people. I feel like a 4'4", 29-year-old face like him is going to answer the call whenever he gets it. However, I don't think you're making Kai Galvana lose after that champion segment, and certainly on a weekly, it would be a lot. Though I would not be surprised, perhaps, if this is a matchup you're willing to build on in the future.
For sure. No, yeah. I mean, this is clearly a feud now that is going to be built off of this match. I won't hesitate to say otherwise. And ooh, we get a 5.5 star main
That
event.
the psychology is huge, and it's great. I mean, obviously, like the fact that this, like, it doesn't allow you to take in feuds like Total War here,
Uh,
is a little bit of a shame. Because I think the match was clearly hot. But at the end of the day, it gives you more room to do more with those factions moving forward. You'll be able to
yep,
build off of it with the next week's segment. The good psychology, I think, it does fit with the narrative you've built really well. The game giving you Jay Avalon really helps in that regard.
yep.
And it's a hot match. It's your first holy shit moment of the night. Putting
Which is
him through
fine
the
because
announce
we did
table.
not spend a whole lot on this card, so we're good.
You did not, no. And open challenge is almost all the way at a silver already. One more open challenge will do it. So it gives you a nice little bit of wiggle room for the belt. All in all, I think a very, very successful end to this card. And no surprise, it ends with a 5-star result on a weekly. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, this was without revealing too much about your card, but you and I had similar ideas about what we wanted to test coming into this week from a gameplay perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the narrative perspective, I couldn't be happier. I mean, I got to push everything we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Here with Gloria Legends and how we wanted to tell these stories tonight. We had the return of Skull Shot, which went well. The end of Harlem Havoc and what that results in, and then of course Black Bull Executioner and now the Conquest or Death for the People faction feud kicking back up. It couldn't have gone better. I mean,
Yeah.
and the game rewarded for it as well. So again, this
Yeah.
was phenomenal,
An
phenomenal weekly.
incredible weekly, incredible card. Well done here. I
Thank
am
you.
going to have to do my best to keep up. And I will say I'm a little bit hamstrung this week because I got the flights canceled event, which meant more than half of my company was unavailable this week. So I have had to make the most with the talent that I have. I am happy with what I was able to build, and I think you're going to notice some similarities in terms of ideology for some of the kind of framework of this card. But there's really one big thing I'm trying to make happen here, and if that works out, then I'm okay if I fall a little bit behind, given that I did not have access to 2/3 of my roster. So let's
Valid.
see what this wild magic can bring. And it starts with a smack talk segment. You know I love these, between Victor Magnus and Fishbone. Fishbone is obviously asserting himself as the dominant force within magically enhanced wrestling. He's the sorcerer supreme, and he's defended it now against Derek Nash and now against Victor. He's like, look, you're not a serious rival to me. You attacked me once backstage, and we got in the Iron Man match at Life or Death, and I beat you. And your faction, the Southern Centuries, you don't scare me. And Victor says, look, I may have lost, but the war goes on. And at the end of the day, I'm not here just to beat you, Fishbone. I'm here to make you hurt. And in fact, all of the Southern Sentries are here to take on the Eastern Elite. I am not the last person that is going to attack and take you all down. We are going to make the Eastern Elite pay for the insult that you have delivered onto me. And all of your men should sleep with one eye open tonight. So it does go to a 4 out of 5 stars, but most importantly, the Make Them Hurt feud starts at 203 hype, which I'm willing to take given that some of my factions have been in a weird spot because of some of the people
No,
leaning in
that's
and
good.
out.
That's good.
But yeah, how do you like my make them hurt feud here, Xander?
I like it. I dig it. Listen, you and I obviously are wrapping back around to some stuff that
Yes.
we just got back and have some similar ideas about how to do so. But I think we're
Well,
both, onto our own unique path with what we're gonna do going forward.
well, see, this is actually a new one because the Eastern Elite fought the Northern Nightmare last time.
Oh, you're right. Wait.
So
Okay. No,
this
you're right.
is
That's my misunderstanding.
no.
No, yeah, that's actually awesome.
I am going back to those things. I just not now,
Yeah. Yeah.
not this
Gotcha.
weekly.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But yes,
Gotcha.
it's definitely. I think this idea of the Southern Centuries have been very mercenary esque in a lot of ways recently, and it's time to put that to the test. And Alpha Jackson, right? He's had some occasional disagreements with Victor Magnus. He's talked about the idea of, well, I'm higher up the card. I'm the peak of masculinity. I am the alpha that the Southern Centuries need. But the order from above, from Victor Magnus in that segment, was make the Eastern Elite hurt. And that's something that Alpha Jackson's very happy to oblige because he's been feuding with Brady Killjoy on and off for a bit. And Brady Killjoy, he's been struggling to find his footing since Liquid Steel lost the Jester's Joust Championship to Larger Than Life, right? Those were brother-in-arms who felt betrayed when Jay Xavier joined the faction and ended up leaving, joining Independence, and then beating them. And Brady Killjoy yet to get a singles win. So he needs to stand up for himself. He needs to get a W. Beating someone like an Alpha Jackson would be so huge for him and the Eastern Elite in general. But given the storyline that I've built here, you may be able to anticipate where this match is going.
Yeah. Obviously, neither of them win. And and a random fan in the crowd comes up and gets it.
It's a double count out, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
No, Alpha Jackson's winning this one.
Yeah. No, it's Alpha Jackson.
It turns out Alpha's going to make Brady hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
I was actually wrong. That started the feud. Excuse me. But it was 4.25 stars, which I'm willing to take. It gets Alpha Jackson over the 1,000 threshold, which is huge. It was a hot match, which I think gives some good opportunities in the long run. Hopefully I can make that feud hot if I need to play it out more regularly. But, at the end of the day, Alpha Jackson, he's here to prove that he is the guy, that he is capable of putting the hurt on some people. And Victor Magnus is looking pretty darn pleased right now with how this is going. And he's not the only one who is taking these orders to heart, because it turns out Mikey Dolan is coming down to the ring as Vinny Stacks is just trying to talk. Vinny, he's been talking about Johnny Scott, right? Johnny Scott helped him in that match against Grim Oxley and, Independence, and, just thinking about, like, where is his talent best utilized. And Mikey Dolan from the Southern Centuries comes down and just beats the crap out of the guy. Just sneaks down from behind and beats him in the ring and says, I don't care if he's Eastern Elite or Independence or anything. I will make this man hurt. And he kind of drops the mic and leaves Vinny Stacks lying on the ground. And that gives Mikey Dolan a little bit of a boost. It gets a feud going between the two of them, and it's a nice surprise attack segment here.
You love to see it.
I don't think my segments are rolling quite as well as yours have, but I'm liking how the things are coming together, and we'll see where Make Them Hurt is at. I would really like that feud to go hot. I don't know if it's going to go hot tonight, but we will see how this goes. Because right now we have a very important announcement here. Arsenico, he is, the leader of independence. He has been preaching the good word of independence, the importance of people freeing themselves from this oppressive faction system that has dominated Magically Enhanced Wrestling since its inception. And while he has proven himself in the ring, so winning a divine intervention match and then proving himself once again with a battle royale victory at Life or Death, he realizes he needs a mouthpiece that can help him better spread the good word on the beauty and power of independence when he's not able to do so. And so it's no surprise he turned to Johnny Scott, the attractive singer who has incredible charisma and oratory skills, and he's going to lend his singing skills towards preaching the good word moving forward. And that is a segment that I think worked out really well for both of them as it went hot. So
Hell yeah.
yeah. I love that both of us, without talking about it, had a reveal manager segment and a surprise attack segment. We really were on the same wavelength, even without coordinating that, which is fun. But here's the thing, Xander. Vinny Stacks is not satisfied with what just went down, right? He just got attacked while he was out in the ring, just getting his thoughts together, trying to relate to the crowd here. And he came to me and he's like, no, I want to fight this man. I can't let this stand. And I went to Mikey and I'm like, hey, you wanna fight the guy? You wanna get a chance to have an actual match rather than just this like bob and weave hit and run strategy you've got going on? And Mikey says, that sounds like a great idea, boss. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we have a submission match here between Mikey Dolan, who is relatively fresh, and Vinny Stacks, who just got beat in the center of the ring, but has a lot of pride on the line and wants to prove that Mikey Dolan is not going to get one over on him. Who do you think I gave the W to?
I think the W is going. Oh man, this is rough. Actually, this is so rough. I think this one goes to Mikey. I think this one goes to Mikey D.
Mm-hmm. It does go to Mikey D. I mean, he beat Vinny up already tonight, right? Like, It turns out that makes it harder to win a submission match.
Weird.
And it's a huge overness boost for Mikey, a huge popularity boost that both of them get to enjoy. And it turns both their individual feud and the Make Them Hurt feud hot, which is exactly what I was hoping for from this particular match. So congratulations to that. I'm feeling good about it. The Eastern Elite and the Southern Sentries have a lot more ground to cover, but it is going to lead to a holy shit moment as Mikey Dolan hit him with a lariat. And Vinny, he still looks good in the loss, right? Given that he got beat up. There were multiple moments in this match where it looked like Vinny was going to have the upper hand, but, eventually those injuries he took earlier wore him down. And, we'll have to see if Vinny gets a chance to fight Mikey Dolan when the two of them are both fresh, or if Mikey's going to keep resorting to these kind of underhanded tactics to weaken his opponent.
For sure.
Yeah. But we move on now. It's a feud package for La Bestia del Infierno and Prince Pretty Pink. Not the role I was hoping for. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a feud you know very well, Xander.
I love this feud.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite feuds.
Prince Pretty Pink had the upper hand for a while, right? Successfully defended his Flame Warlock title 3 times, including at Chaos Controlled and Final Destination. But, La Bestia del Infierno was finally going to overtake him before he got sideswiped by El Muerte Blanco at Bonds of Destiny. And while La Bestia del Infierno has obviously been focusing his most recent attention on Ashton Nieves, who he feels wronged him by jumping him to become second in command, believes doesn't deserve that title. La Bestia del Infierno has more than enough hate and rage in his heart to sustain multiple feuds. And tonight, he's looking for revenge in this fatal 4-way street fight match between the two of them, Sammy Emerald and Yellow Arrow.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, Sammy Emerald and Yellow Arrow have been feuding on and off for a bit. Technically, it's been going on for quite a while, but it was mostly between like tag feuds between Magic's Missiles and Out of This World, right? But it was one of those like Sammy and Yellow Arrow demanded a spot, and they're like, hey, we haven't had a chance to wrestle in a while. And Prince Pretty Pink is like, yeah, look, can I go and support him over at ringside? I want to make sure that I'm there for my guy. And La Bestia del Infierno is like, the fuck you are. If he's going to the ring, I'm going to the ring because I'm going to beat you down. And I said, great, fatal 4-way. And Prince Pretty Pink was like, wait, what? Yeah, there's a match. You found your way in. You wanted at the ring. You're in the ring. Congratulations. So, two members of the Western Watch with Yellow Arrow and Prince Pretty Pink versus one Hellfire Club and one Eastern Elite. Who do you think's taking the dub?
Yellow Arrow.
That would be fun. And I do worry about giving this to someone else, given how low he is. But this is Bestia.
Okay.
La Bestia del Infierno. He took the loss. He's taken too many losses, to be honest with you, in a row for a
That's
faction
fair.
leader
That's
that
fair.
needs to be taken seriously. And this is him, a street fight, I think, much more his corner, right? He was caged like a beast in that steel cell match against Ashton Nieves. But when you give him room to roam, when you give him the freedom to let his aggression go wild, turns out he's real good at that. And it leads to a 4.5-star match. And it may or may not have completed a talent request to have Prince Pretty Pink and Sammy Emerald in a match together, which I have no idea what would have brought the two of them together outside of this convoluted Western Watch connection here. So we got there, fam. That's all that matters. And
Right on. Right
Bestia del
on.
Infierno gets a win. So we now move on to a champion package. This is celebrating Flying High. It's not the quality I was hoping for, but I think, it makes sense to give this a champion package, right? Flying
Yeah.
High, when they took over Keepers of the Realm for the second time, Keepers of the Realm was a joke belt, right? It switched hands every time for the first 3 matches. Flying High won it at Firestorm, lost it at Mana Unleashed. Rude Awakening held it for 2 pay-per-views before Flying High took it back at Final Destination. But since then, Flying High have maintained their role. They've had 3 successful defenses against the entirety of the women's tag division, and only Light and Shadow at this point seem to be a true threat. And if that's the case, if you have to prepare everything you have to deal with Light and Shadow, you need to blow off the infighting, right? You
Yeah.
saw what happened with the Scourge of the Underdark when they were all fighting amongst each other. And eventually someone, Vito at Negra, gets hurt. People were in disarray. And Lorena Lucia's like, look, we can't have that. We need to blow this off. We need this feud to come to a close because Flying High, you need to be ready to deal with Light and Shadow. And the Shooting Stars are like, look, Lorena, we get it. Like, we don't want to overstay our welcome here, but we deserve a shot too, right? We were the first belt holders of the Keepers of the Realm, right? We have the second most wins of any tag team in this division. We deserve one last shot to prove ourselves. And, while Malachite Bronson's kind of struggling to find her footing, Cyan Orion had that big win in the 10-way women's match at Life or Death, which has her hoping that momentum's going to carry forward. So Lorena said, okay, we're going to do this one last time. This is your chance, Shooting Stars. If this is your title, if you want one more shot to make this happen, here's your shot. Take it and be done with it. And that's the match we have in front of us. So the question is, are Shooting Stars going to take that opportunity and secure themselves the Keepers of the Realm belt, or does Flying High stay strong as they prepare for the threat of Light and Shadow?
Ooh. I think Flying High keep it. Sorry. It's Flying High.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I started a feud between Flying High and Light and Shadow at the last pay-per-view, so
Yep.
it'd be a little
Yep.
weird to not make use of that. It is a 5-star match, which I needed because I don't think this card was particularly strong in a few places. But I think, as far as like blow-offs go, Shooting Stars still got a popularity and overness boost despite losing. It was a hot match to blow off the feud, a 4.5-star feud blow-off. We get a holy shit moment as Ihakai puts Cyan Orion through the announce table.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel, the Keepers of the Realm belt still has a ways to go to catch up to where it was, right? It certainly took a lot of hits in the early days, but a nice reign by Flying High has done wonders for it. And we will see if they can keep it going long enough to really make the most of it. Or if Light and Shadow are about to throw a wrench into everybody's plans.
Indeed, indeed.
It's 4.5-star show, which is about where I was hoping it would be.
Very
given
respectable
everything.
still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very respect. I had some good rolls. That's
Yeah,
we
you,
can
you,
we
you
can.
had some very good rolls, but you also did a very good job in building out some deliberate shots that worked. I did have some unfortunate rolls with some of these 72 and 65% effectivenesses.
Yeah.
The fact that surprise attack caps at 4 stars for me right now is a little bit of a shame. But at the end of the day, like I'm like this is trying some things, right? I like the
Yeah.
idea of doing more segments in my shows. I like the consistency that I think that brings without having to spend a ton of matches for it. And I like leaning on charisma and narrative to get some stories across. So did I
Indeed.
get? Yeah, I didn't get the roles I wanted tonight, but I don't regret the experiments, and I'm very happy with getting the Eastern Elite and Southern Sentries feud where it needs to be. And next week, I might have more wrestlers to work with to try to
One
improve the
hundred
strategy
percent. Yeah,
from.
that might help. Who knows? Who
God,
can say?
could you imagine if we were not doing weeklies and I had to go into the pay per view with only 1/3 of
Oh
my
my
roster?
god, that would be literal nightmare.
God, thank goodness we don't have to deal with that. But we do have to process one last weekly card. That is the Campeonato de Luchasaur Destination. We have quite the card in front of us tonight. We have a feud blow off, as you can see, between Kyle Cage and Isama Masucci. We have a couple. We have a title shot to defend. We have a former title shot to work through as they process the results of Make Your Choice. So let's see what Eduardo has in store for us. And
Let us see indeed.
it starts with a steel cage match between Here and Now, which the game lists as No and Ryota because it didn't take the name properly, and the Constellation, which has been a friendly rivalry since about April. El Tigre de Neon sees this less as like a, oh, we need to beat up these bad guys, and more of a, this is an opportunity to prove that my pupils have taken on everything that I've wanted to teach them, and that the School of the Crab is superior as a fighting style. And so far, that's left to a 1-1 tie. Constellation got the first win back in April, but Here and Now got a victory on an episode of Destination in May. And it's kind of sat there since, just waiting to be jumped back onto. So, with that 1-1 record and the stakes here, being very much a friendly competition to prove which of these top face tag teams, from a hype perspective at least, can do. Who do you think Eduardo gave the W to?
Every time I root against No and Ryota, they win, and every time I root for them, they lose. So I don't know, and I'm guessing the consolation.
You're guessing the Constellation. Is that reverse psychology to try to get the win to Here and Now?
No.
Okay. Well, good, because you're right.
Yes.
Yeah. It is a Constellation victory. It's a 4.5-star match. Gets a little bit of overness there for the Constellation, and it's a holy shit moment as Clayton Brown hits Kenta Ryota with a leg drop off the top of the cage. So, well done there. A very reasonable loss for Here and Now, but the Constellation, man, Tanner Raicho and Clayton Brown are both quite the workers, and you can really tell their skill coming to fruition with a great match to start this card.
Indeed, indeed.
But speaking of tags, we've got another steel cage match immediately. They just keep the steel cage out there for these tag divisions, as it is Dominion versus Phantom Troop. Now, this feud started a lot more recently. This started last month as they were both deciding they needed to prove themselves to earn the shot of next top contender to challenge for the Guardianes del Pucara Femenino Championship, which is now held, as of Make Your Choice, by Lethal Tempo. Now, Phantom Troop won the kickoff submission match, but Dominion asked Eduardo, like, hey, submission matches, they keep people to the ground. I think that was purposefully chosen because they know what we can do if we have a little bit more room. So let's get to a steel cage match here. Let's prevent any potential shenanigans, and give us the best chance to secure a W. So that's the match in front of us: Dominion versus Phantom Troop. Who do you think Eduardo gave the nod to?
I think it's going to be Dominion this time.
You like Dominion? Any particular reason?
I think Phantom Troop have won too many times recently, and for this to be a genuine who's going to get the title shot, I feel like there should be a little more back and forth. And I do think that because last time submission they felt it favored Phantom Troop, Dominion are going to get the win here with what they asked for.
You're absolutely right. Dominion do get the win here. It's a 4.25 star match. It is a hot match, so the overness boost for each of them is big, right? Because these are two groups in which, if anyone, only one of the members is over. So getting a hot match like that certainly goes a long way. It works with the crowd well, and it's a nice 4.25 stars. So well done there. But we move on to an I Quit match between Jordan Amir and Adriano Cicelli. Now, you know very well, Xander, but just for the folks at home who might not have caught everything, right? This used to be a feud for the Campeonato Antu Championship. Adriano Cicelli started with the belt, defended it at Retaliation, before Jordan Amir took it at Starlight and successfully defended it at Deadly Gambit. It's been a 3-1 lead so far for Jordan Amir in this feud, but both of them ended up on the wrong side of Gabriel Rivera and Make Your Choice, which has led to the two of them blaming each other, right? Jordan says that if Adriano Cicelli hadn't gone in his way, you wouldn't have lost to a guy like Gabriel Rivera. Well, Adriano Cicelli says, this was my belt. You took it from me, and you couldn't defend it. You never should have had it in the first place if you were going to act like this the moment that things got tough for you. And so they're settling this in an I Quit match tonight. Who do you think is getting the nod between the Phantom Executionist and our guitar playing Adriano Cicelli?
Like, I could see it going either way. Adriano's been on a losing streak. Getting the win tonight could be really big for him. But I mean, I like the upside here for Jordan Amir just a little bit more. I tend to like Jordan Amir a little bit more personally too. I think I've rooted for him more than I have Adriano. So I'm gonna say I hope that it's Jordan Amir, the heel, winning it, getting promoted to face of the company status, and getting bigger matches as a result.
You know, I understand where you're coming from on that.
Damn.
However, as we know, with a hot feud, Eduardo has they'll both get popularity, so it's fine. And he was right. It does get Jordan Amir over the 1,000 threshold. It does get Adriano Cicelli a win, and a big boost for him. And now they're both very much on the road. Adriano Cicelli just 31 points away from potentially being a face of the company in his own right. And it's a 5-star match. And it's a holy shit moment along the way, as Adriano Cicelli hit a dozen consecutive chair shots, followed by a level up in popularity for I Quit matches moving forward. It's a lot of positives
Nice.
there.
Yeah, no, it's a great match. It's a great match. I still wish Jordan won.
That's fair. Well, we will have to move on for now because it is a hopes and dreams on a pole match between Violetta and Lulu Cherry, which Eduardo did confirm he has not seen a lot of my weekly cards, so he did not know that I have also done a hopes and dreams on a pole match before.
Is
So I'm
Lulu
glad.
Cherry new or?
No, Lulu Cherry's a member of Bittersweet, so she has been
Oh,
mostly
she just
doing
hasn't been
the
used in. Got it. Right.
just
Okay.
not a singles competition wrestler typically,
Yeah.
right? But Bittersweet lost the Guardianes del Pucar Femenino Championship at
Yes,
Make Your
that's
Choice
why I
to
remember now.
Lethal.
I
Yeah.
remember. Okay,
So
I always just forget that. I guess I completely spaced that Lulu Cherry was in Bittersweet.
well, her gimmick is bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
So
No, I get it. I see that now, and I put two and two together immediately after opening my mouth. But yes, got it.
but yeah, but she's going up against quite the competitor tonight of Violetta, right? Violetta's had her own streak of losses she's trying to bounce back from. She's trying to rebuild her credibility because at one point she was a belt holder, right? She had the Campeonato Cuyan Championship and held it for a few months, and it's just really struggled in months since then to establish herself as the kind of wrestler that the fans know her to be. So the question becomes, does Lulu Cherry win her solo debut, or does Violetta break her 3-loss streak and start boosting her way back up the card again?
Violetta.
Yeah, it's Violetta. But it's a 4.5-star match, which I have to imagine he's feeling pretty good about overall. Lulu Cherry takes a little bit of an overness hit, but nothing that she can't handle. It's her first solo match, right? So I think giving Violetta the win here makes a lot of sense. But we'll see if Lulu Cherry, if this is, this is a greatest wrestler feud that has been formed. So maybe Lulu Cherry has some solo aspirations now, right? Uh, or maybe Violetta at some point gets interested in doing some tag things. We'll have to see how Eduardo plans to play this feud out. But for now, it's a good start for Violetta. It's nice for her to get a W here, and we'll see how Lulu Cherry bounces back. But now we have a video package, Xander, because Madison Marlowe is back. Ignore the text here because it's talking about her big wins, and I don't know how many of those she actually has because she has been injured. She got a pulled groin and was out for a couple months. So this package, in reality, highlights her recovery process, right? Highlights the work that she put in and her desire to be, and I'm quoting here, the champion the CDLS deserves. Which, given that her gimmick is that she is a corrupted heel, is probably more of a threat than a promise per se. And it's no surprise that someone like Pink Arrow is going to try to come to stop that, right? Pink Arrow is, has been a 4-4 face in this company for a while. She is incredibly talented as an individual, and despite a 2-match loss streak recently, has been a title contender in a few different moments. And let's be clear, that last loss was an open challenge against Hae Lee, who won the Grand Invitational, right? Hardly a loss that you can feel bad about. But, if you're Pink Arrow, you feel bad about all the losses, right? You're here to prove yourself and why you're the best, and why you deserve to be in these title shots again. So Madison Marlowe needs to prove herself after an injury and wants to fight her way back into the main event and compete for some belts now that she's returned. And Pink Arrow needs to prove herself and prove that she deserves to be first in line for belts. So a lot on the line for both of these
Uh,
competitors. Who do
I'm
you
gonna
think up
jump
next?
in. I'm gonna say I think it goes to Madison Marlowe, but I would rather see it go to Pink Arrow. My reason being that I very blatantly have rooted for most of the arrows across all of our promotions that have arrow champions, right? Or
That's
arrow
true.
wrestlers rather.
Yeah.
Additionally, I do think it's good that Madison's back. She's gonna wrestle up. I think she needs a little bit of time to get there, and hopefully this match against Pink Arrow is kind of like the gauge for that, and gets her to work a little bit more within her popularity. Maybe some more matches. I mean, I think Pink Arrow is a good match for her, being a main eventer that's not too far up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Pink Arrow can already be in those higher end matches, and Madison's going to need a little bit of time to get there. I personally wouldn't be sacrificing Pink Arrow for that endeavor.
I do understand what you're saying here. And I don't think that Eduardo sees this as a sacrifice. You have correctly pointed out that he does think that that's the Madison Marlowe win is the play here. I think the big key, right? Madison Marlowe, between this and the video package, very close to getting over, right? And if she gets over, it's a 4-4 heel who he can get into the main event, and a 4-4 face that's already in the main event. And this feud can be something big. I think that's the play. That's the long-term goal in starting this feud. Madison Marlowe getting the first win does not mean she's going to get the last win, but the feud gets better if Madison Marlowe gets over.
If she does get the last win, you and I are gonna have words.
Well, I don't have words with
I will.
me.
Nope. I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you to it.
I don't know. I
You
don't
just
know
said.
who's
No,
gonna get.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You look. You already have your weekly flights to Chile in universe to give him a hard time for his decision. So you don't have to go to me if it doesn't work the way you want. But
I'll go to both of you. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's fair. That's more than fair. And it's another I Quit match, which it does seem like Eduardo making a very purposeful push to level this gimmick up and get it to gold status. And I can see why. It's done pretty well for him so far tonight. But we have an event package here. He starts right away in promoting Resistance, which is his next Broads pay-per-view. Obviously, a lot of those matches have not been set yet. With Adriano Cicelli winning today, some of those tag matches earlier, perhaps we are getting the formation of some of the title matches that will be defended at Resistance. So we'll have to keep an eye out on where some of these storylines head. But right now, just a little bit more hype for the upcoming event is never a bad thing. And event packages, one more event package like that, and it'll be a silver package. So good on Eduardo for that. But We move on. We mentioned the Campeonato On2 Championship earlier when we were talking about Adriano Cicelli and Jordan Amir. Gabriel Rivera is here and is going up against Gambler, who he's been feuding with for a little bit now, right? Gabriel Rivera was first challenged by Gambler in a first blood match on an episode of Destination back in June. But while Gambler won the first match, Gabriel Rivera won the biggest one, right? Getting this Campeonato N2 championship at Make Your Choice is huge. But Gambler's like, look, when it was a one-on-one match the last time it was the two of us, I beat you. I know I'm a better wrestler than you. I've proven it before, and I'm going to do it again tonight. And Gabriel Rivera, he's just kind of letting Gambler run his mouth. He's deciding to let his belt do the talking tonight. And so the question becomes, do you think he's going to successfully defend tonight against Gambler, or is Gambler going to prove that he is indeed?
Yeah. Gabriel Rivera.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. And it's a 5 1/4 star match. The fans are in. The feud, I think, just went hot. So congratulations for that. A nice overness boost for both of them goes quite a long way. Just a really, really strong push here. And Gabriel Rivera hitting Gambler with a lariat for the third holy shit moment of the night also has to feel pretty damn good. I think the only downside is Gambler taking a little bit of a popularity hit, but that's something you can work with, right? You just give Gambler.
He didn't drop below being a main eventer, so not a big deal.
But Gabriel Rivera on the path to becoming a face of the company. We'll see.
What's that score?
If he maintains it. Well, we've got one more match actually.
Oh, I can't count. Never mind.
It's all right. We have a blow-off match between Kyle Cage and Isamu Masucci. Now, this is a fascinating one, right? Because Kyle Cage is the holder of the Nova Championship, and you will notice the Nova belt is not on the line right now because the Nova belt can only be won in a pole match, and this is not a pole match. Because while Isamu Masucci is very, regarded as a face of the Campeonato de Luchasaur, he's never held a belt for more than a month. And you could argue that month was an accident if you remember that I misclicked that one time. But he believes he deserves respect, right? He doesn't need a belt to deserve respect, to be seen as the career killer, the 4-4 heel that can do so much work. And Kyle Cage has already beaten him in 2 pole matches, including a 1-on-1 on the Go Home Destination show, which got Kyle's spot in the Nova Championship and Make Your Choice in the first place. And so Kyle's like, look, I've beaten you in pole matches already. I shouldn't have to defend my title against you again. And Isamu's like, look, I don't give a shit about your title. As long as I get to choose the stipulation, I just want to beat you. And Kyle agreed. And here we end up with an ambulance match. And Masucci here cares more about making Kyle hurt and embarrassing him by throwing him into the back of this ambulance than he does about a belt tonight. So, do you think that Masucci is going to get the win?
I think that because the belt is not active, that Isamu is going to get the win tonight.
I also would have thought that if I was in your shoes. Because Isamu is on a 7-loss streak, and as a face of the company, it gets a little scary. But Eduardo has big plans for Kyle Cage. And Kyle Cage, as a result of this, is now going to be on his way to becoming a face of the company. It is unfortunate that the feud goes hot with this. It was already at 4-4, so it kind of had to be blown off. You can't count on it going over in a thing like this. But it does help the next time that the two of them feud against each other, which I would not be surprised if he goes back to, given the 5-star blow-off. It's a very nicely done ambulance match. Isamu Masucci manages to still gain popularity in the loss here. And Kyle Cage establishing himself the UK's best. He has brought his British talent to the Campeonato de Luchasaur. And for the first time, a South American audience is happy that the British are here. So well done to Kyle Cage for that. A very nice card for Eduardo, and it's 4 3/4 stars. I think a very strong showing. With a couple roles going a little bit differently, it could have easily gone another way. But this was just a very consistent card from start to finish, and one that he would be feeling very good about if it was not for the fact that you had quite the show in your own right. But at the end of the day, it's a nice a victory for you. But Eduardo gets some fans, which has to feel nice. I lose a little bit, and Walter. I mean, I think this is the thing that he has accepted a while back. He's not in it to see that number go up. He's in it to tell some stories, and I think he succeeded on that mark. So, I think overall a very solid day here. Any final
Yeah.
thoughts, Xander?
No, listen, it's a good start to the weeklies. I learned a little bit about segments and how you, me, and even Eduardo are using those right now to, like pretty moderate effect. I will say though, I think that there's a lot more room to, I mean, A, to min max it, but B, to expand on the storytelling with it. I think there's some really unique ones that I want to take a look at. I unlocked one tonight. I can't wait to look at right after this. And there's going to be a lot more good stuff coming down. Can't wait to try and win it on weekly 3 needing a quarter star, and I get like a -2 again or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we will certainly see how that goes. I as presumably the face announcer here, I will not root for you to have a weird 2-star roll. Because I want to beat you at your best, but it's going to be a tough road for me to climb. Certainly, Eduardo in a better spot on that front. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But for now, Xander, where can the nice people at home find you?
You all can find me on all the socials at Tentacle Coach, doing the League of Legends Alawi stuff. But also, more importantly, please go check out CUNY BC Esports. That's CUNY BC Esports, Brooklyn College. We just had on Friday a complete winning day. Every single team went 2-0, and we're looking to build upon that success. Most everybody right now is on track to make it to a postseason. So please go support, collegiate esports in general, but also Brooklyn College.
Absolutely. Definitely go give them some love. You can find me at Chase Walsnar on Blue Sky and on X if you must. I don't know why I said X. It's Twitter. We all know better. I think I have 2XKO still on the brain. I'm not over it, and I never will be. But yeah, definitely go. If you have any thoughts on the show or what wrestlers you'd like to see get some more love, I certainly love hearing from you guys. But we will be back in a few days with the next weeklies. So be sure to stay tuned to this channel. Until next time, goodbye, Internet.